Shalom, shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Kodash, double honors, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, a great millstone, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, and wherever you may be, to you I say, shalom, Mashallah, shalom. Right, real quick, on the screen here at the top of my screen, high threat pathogens and active outbreaks, because there's many things going on the earth, but I wanted the major ones, which a few of them obviously, we've seen a couple of them on YouTube, but there's a couple others on YouTube as well that I've seen that are not mentioned, but the ones that are high level threats, right, supposedly are in active outbreaks. So it says public health agencies monitor these diseases via active travel alerts and emergency declarations due to high mutation rates or severe fatality rates. All right. Of course, the number one, all right, here, Ebola virus disease, specifically active outbreaks of the Bundibugyo, if I said that right, Bundibugyo virus strain in Central and East Africa, which the WHO considers a public health emergency of international concern. All right, of course, we got the number one player, all right, Bobit, one niner, all right, the Bobit, and seasonal influenza, because I think they're both respiratory. So it says endemic respiratory viruses both of them, that continue to mutate and require annual tracking. And so about that mutation, there's supposed to be a variant of the Bobit called the cicada. So that's another one you could put on the list. All right, the Mpox. Remember the monkey, right? The monkey that's just so happened to get loose, right, off of a truck. Okay, why do you have this monkey in the first place, anyways? Ongoing international tracking of clade 1 and clade 2 lineages. All right. Measles, and that's the one that I was mentioning, one of those ones that you can, it's on, I saw a YouTube article about. I think it was like low numbers. It was like 12 to 15 cases, but nonetheless, measles is measles. All right. Resurging globally due to critical gaps in routine childhood Vicky coverage. I don't want to say that was somewhere in Africa as well. And then we have the Andes virus, which comes from a rare hantavirus noted for limited person-to-person transmission, actively tracked following maritime and regional clusters. Okay. So these are the most major things. Now there's a whole list up here: malaria, dengue, Chikungunya, whatever, Zika, Lyme disease, and tuberculosis, AIDS, diarrhea. Right? So all these different things here, but those ones that are listed as highly, right now on the scale of things, those are the ones that we read through. Now also, while we're here, because speaking on the main one, which we'll get to in a second here, which is the Ebola. All right. Maybe I should just back up to, how do I get back to the main page here? Okay, there we go. So I want to type in what is the date of the World Cup, because that's the talk. All right. FIFA World Cup. All right. Soccer, football, go. Yeah. June 11th, 2026 to July 19, 2026. Now, we know some of these diseases that are popping up on the radar they say they don't have any cure, right? And, as a matter of fact, let me read this while we have it down here on the screen, because I'll probably switch in a second, because we got other scriptures I want to pull up. All right, so it says, I want to get down to verse 7, Matthew 24:7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All right, and of course, from time to time we just get the word. All right, pestilences. Okay, loimos, pestilence. Okay, a pest, a plague. Right, and when you probably just pull up the bubonic, it usually does. But we'll see. Bubonic plague is always there. A contagious bacterial disease characterized by fever and delirium. All right. So, as a matter of fact, let's get pestilence real quick. A fatal epidemic disease, especially the bubonic plague, and that's what some of these are, like the Ebola. All right, a fatal epidemic disease, and they're saying that there is not I believe that's the one that they're saying that there's no particular cure for. All right, and which is why we're going to go back to the top of my screen here. So it says famines and pestilences and earthquakes, right? In diverse places. And all these are the beginning of sorrows and beautiful, because I got to read that EMP in verse 8 there. It says, but all these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs. And where does that sound familiar from? All right, the book of 2nd Ezra. All right, this is what we're warning our people about different things, because all hell hasn't even broken loose. These are just diseases that are, popping up, and, soon, different sicknesses that you want to be protected from. All right, Lord willing, because the Lord, we're in the time period of judgment, because these are the final days of this age of the earth, which is that little season of Esau. Okay, 2nd Ezra chapter 6. All right, Esau is the end of the world, end of this age, end of this time period, and Jacob is the beginning of the follow, because what comes after is the kingdom of heaven, and many are going to perish right before that kingdom is established, before our Lord comes. So it says these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs, of the intolerable anguish, and the time of unprecedented trouble. Beautiful, because what? Jacob's trouble. See? I'm gonna leave that one on the screen right there. See, we got enough screen for it. Not enough. But yeah, so this has been a talk. The FIFA World Cup that's coming up, and then you have, the antivirus, as well as Ebola, okay, and other things too. But those two are probably the top two major ones being talked about right now, spreading, which they say that the Ebola doesn't have a cure, right? And so it says tap a match to see stats. Gives more. So yeah, so Group A. All right, this is the interesting thing about this coming up World Cup. I mean, it's not like it's really new, but it's you see it's taking place in different areas, right? So Group A, Mexico, South Africa. Actually, I really don't know exactly where it's going to take place. Maybe they'll tell us. But because these are just telling us the players here: South Korea, Czechia, Canada, Bosnia and Herzegovina. All right, June 11, 11, 12, so on and so forth. More matches. I wonder if they'll tell us where it's going to be held. The FIFA World Cup, often called the World Cup, is an international association football competition among the senior men's national teams of the members of the Federation Internationale de Football Association, the sport's global governing body. All right. I might have just had to put it in. Okay, there you go. The tournament will take place from June 11 to July 19, 2026. It will be jointly hosted by 16 cities, 11 in the United States. So you have a time period where diseases are floating around the world. All right, as I mentioned the other day, right, the Trojan horse has been set. Speaking about the Chinese water rat, all right, off that cruise ship. There was another one from the Princess Cruise, the norovirus. That's the one we didn't mention. The norovirus has sprung back up, which that's often heard. When you go into the norovirus, that's often heard to pop up on cruise ships. So no surprise there that it popped up again on a cruise ship. Okay, so you have that as well. So with these things going around, and you have people liking to travel, liking the sports and things of that nature, Trojan horse has been set where they keep telling you that, oh, it's not going to be a problem, it's not going to be this, or we don't need a lockdown, all right, you don't need that, you don't need this. But then these patients are going everywhere, all over the world, and it's going to spread. That's a Trojan horse. Okay, Esau is doing it on purpose, and that's the same thing he did with the Bobit. Purposely telling you one thing while another thing is actually taking place. And now you have two major ones, all right? The Hanta and the Ebola, okay? And then you have people that want their sports. So then you have close contact with these sports in all different places. And it says 11 in the United States. And that's why we pulled this up. All right. So, I don't know what was up top. Let me see if I can hit the back button on up top. Okay, yeah, I remember we were in the other page there. So actually, I'll leave that in case we want to pull up the Google again. Actually, no, I need this because I need to go to. We want to go over to the Apocrypha and get a couple of these scriptures here that I want to get. Right, have them pulled up. So 2 Ezra 15:5. Behold, said the Lord Yahweh Bash. Well, it said the Lord, I will bring what plagues, you see, as we read in Matthew, right down below. But all these things are merely the beginning of birth pains, of the intolerable anguish, and the time of unprecedented trouble. So behold, said the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Plagues, diseases, all right, upon the world. The sword, people with weapons, all right. You have the uproars of the people, the sedition among men that's going to take place, all right. Famine, starvation, which that's always been a thing, all right. But look at the homo straight situation. It's affecting a lot of things, and one of those things is what? Food security or insecurity, or whatever they call it. Basically manufacturing a famine. We have all these things happening, and death is where all these things lead to, because Esau has a what? A depopulation agenda. That's the only way he can put his system online and get it to work like he wants it to work, if he depopulates the population. And destruction, okay? As if, and with death wasn't enough, and destruction, okay? As a matter of fact, let's pull up a little bit more, see what was around there. Oh yeah, beautiful. But let's go to verse 3. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Yeah, the non-believers. If you don't want to believe what the men of the Lord are saying, then, like it says in Judges, go and cry to the gods that you have chosen. Okay, because the message is of repentance to the nation of Israel before all these things, hit everybody's doorsteps. Okay, you want that hedge of protection. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, said the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Says the same thing in Ezra chapter 8. Okay? Many great miseries shall come upon those that dwell upon the world. Verse 6 says, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. And that's like it says in as in the days of Noah were. All right? They were eating and drinking and giving in marriage and so on and so forth. And the flood came and took them away. All right? This time was going to be preceded by Jacob's trouble and then a fire. All right, I got the wrong screen there. Okay, they won't let me go back on. I actually might have to drop the bottom screen because they won't let me back up. So yeah. All right, 2 Ezra 15. All right, and 11. It says, well, let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, let's start at verse 10. It says, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. See, blindly following Esau. What's the Isaiah 30? It's either 31 or 33. Always gets those two mixed up. But it says, speaking about woe to you that go down to Egypt for help and trust in horses and chariots because they are many or something like that. But you look not to the Holy One of Israel. Who do you think the message was to? The Israelites, because who looks to the Holy One of Israel? Israelites. Okay, you led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Okay? Because ultimately he's going to deliver the remnant, but the 2/3 are going to perish. Okay? But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, just like he did in ancient Egypt. He smote them with plagues, and then he delivered us, and then he went further to kill Pharaoh and his army. And he's going to do the same thing. He's not going to exactly kill these modern day pharaohs. They're going to be in bunkers. He's going to pull them out in chains. Because this time around, all right, they're going to 1,000 years of captivity. But eventually they will be done away with. But get back to the point, it says, and smite Egypt with plagues as before. And that's what he's doing right now. Okay? As before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Okay, and either other signs, all right, which they are literally that signs, which goes into proof and, stuff like that. Blood moons, eclipses, waters that turn red, cicadas, flies, frogs. We've seen these things happen around the earth. Egypt shall mourn, which is talking about Babylon the Great, by the way. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the highest shall bring upon it. See, there's another one. Exodus 15 and 27. One of the main ones I wanted to get. It says, "For the Lord knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction." And what was Ezra told? "Inquire not how the ungodly shall be punished in the wind," or something like that, but inquire how the righteous can be saved. All right, because the ungodly, the unrighteous, the same shall know at the death by pain. But the power and the fear of the Lord have the death by pain. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth. You see, the whole earth. All right, Babylon the Great, as well as in other countries. And ye shall remain in them, for the Most High shall not deliver you, because you have sinned against him. All right, and that's all right there, because that goes into the missiles and war and stuff. So there you go. All right. So there's 15 and 49 about Babylon the Great. Ultimately, you know, at the end of the day, other countries too, but ultimately it leads right back to Babylon the Great. It says, "Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee." Which links up with what? Revelation 18 chapter. Thou hast these merchant men, right? "Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions." That's Babylon the Great. "Therefore said the highest, I will send plagues upon thee." See, upon the world, Babylon the Great and other countries, "I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death." Okay, and that main place is Babylon the Great. All right. And it ends with missiles, which I could have read that next verse, but we need that. Check out 16 and 5 is another one, which I think that top of that chapter goes into talking about the missiles. All right, but yeah, I believe so. Oh, one more. Let's get one more before we close off. Amos 3. Yep. Let's start at verse 4. "Will a lion roar in the forest when he had no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have taken nothing? Can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth where no gin is for him? Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? Shall a trumpet be blown in the city?" What does it say in Isaiah? What is it, 58:1? "Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet." Same thing in Joel 2, "Blow the trumpet in Zion." All right, the prophets are on the watchtower. Habakkuk chapter 2, blowing the trumpet to warn the children of Israel. Ezekiel, "Whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid. Shall there be evil in a city all over the earth." All right, for the churches to listen up and hear that, because God is all love, 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 as you say. What the scriptures say, "Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua had not done it." In other words, if evil is done, the Lord did that from the left-hand side. He sent those evil angels amongst them. He sent those spirits created for vengeance. He sent those teeth of wild beasts and things of that nature. All right. By his command is why the love of many is waxing cold. See, surely the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua will do nothing but he revealed his secret unto his servants, the prophets. Because the prophets, you know, through the Spirit of the Lord, of course, is not really the prophets, but what I was going to say is the prophets give the people a chance. You hear the gospel, you hear the truth, you hear repentance, you hear about who you are, your power, and all these different things. What's coming, Jacob's trouble, right? Because it tells in Daniel 12, it's going to be like a time like no other. You're given a chance to hear these things before the Lord actually brings down his mighty hand. He stretches out that mighty hand, like he says. So that's why the scripture even say that you have no cloak for your sin. Okay, everybody by the time all these things, you know, come full surface and into fruition, everybody has heard, whether they ignored or whether they believed or whether they heard but not believe, whatever the case may be. All right, the Lord has made it where everybody can hear, and a major vessel for that was what? The internet. Okay. The lion hath roared, who will not fear? The Lord Yahweh hath spoken, who can but what? But prophesy, which means to speak or to say before. All right, and so we want protection from this, madness like this. All right, different diseases, okay, that are going on in the earth. All right, and we see how Esau is trying to play this, spreading. Right, you have drought, you have famine, you have different diseases coming upon the earth. All right, and other things happening as well, financial problems, and all types of things, jobs being taken, AI, all these different things happening all at once. That's the Lord controlling Esau from the left, because it's not Esau's plan. It's not he's special. He's not he's smart. This is the Lord using the wicked, which is the sword. He's using that left hand to bring these things upon the earth. All right, but he's going to use the right hand for those that cleave unto him. Well, will we be able to number to be delivered? All right, from these said perils. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Lord willing, you edify. This next thing I'm gonna say.
More than 150 people on board a Princess cruise ship got sick with norovirus last week. The Star Princess was on a one-week voyage in the Caribbean. According to the CDC, more than 100 passengers and nearly 50 crew members got sick. The ship returned to Fort Lauderdale this weekend, where it underwent additional rounds of cleaning before embarking on a new voyage.
For years, measles was considered a disease the world had learned to control. A simple 2-dose vaccine had turned what was once a deadly childhood threat into a preventable illness. Many countries even declared the virus eliminated, marking one of modern public health's greatest achievements. But in 2026, that sense of safety is beginning to collapse. From the United States to Mexico and now across South Asia, measles is making a deadly comeback. It is exposing the cost of falling vaccination rates, overburdened health systems, and growing gaps in public health coverage. It began quietly in Mexico. A 9-year-old boy visited relatives in Seminole, Texas. When the child returned home to Mexico, he developed a red rash. Within weeks, classmates started falling sick. Schools were shut down, and the virus had already crossed borders. The small town in U.S. soon became the epicenter of the largest measles outbreak in the United States in more than 3 decades. Mexico has now recorded more than 17,000 confirmed measles cases since the start of 2025, with at least 40 deaths linked to complications of this disease, or the deaths. Now, these deaths include babies and farm workers. Most of those infected were unvaccinated. Health authorities say the outbreak first spread through a remote Mennonite community in Chihuahua State before moving into agricultural labor networks and indigenous communities. By the end of 2025, Chihuahua alone reported more measles cases than the entire United States. Experts warn this is what happens when immunization coverage begins to slip. Measles is one of the most contagious viruses known to science. It spreads through coughing, sneezing, or even talking, and the virus can remain in the air for up to 2 hours. One infected person can potentially spread it to 18 others. In young children, the consequences can be devastating and vary from pneumonia to brain swelling. The crisis is now expanding far beyond North America. Bangladesh is currently facing its deadliest measles outbreak in decades. Authorities have reported 459 child deaths since mid-March 2026, along with thousands of confirmed cases and tens of thousands of suspected infections. Globally, 82 countries have achieved or maintained official measles elimination status, but health experts say that status remains fragile. Recently, the virus is making inroads in the Americas, with US and Canada losing its measles-free status following prolonged outbreaks.
Today, the number of people under monitoring for potential hantavirus infections in the United States growing. The CDC is saying 41 people are now being monitored for possible infection.
If anyone develops symptoms, we've worked with their local health departments to ensure rapid access to testing and care. Just as a reminder, most people under monitoring are considered high-risk exposures.
It comes after North Dakota's health department said it's monitoring 5 people who were exposed to a sick person aboard that cruise ship abroad. Monitoring now happening in at least 12 states, including Texas, California, Georgia, and New Jersey. And in Kansas, the state monitoring 3 people for potential infection after they were exposed to someone who tested positive for the Andes hantavirus. They've now been taken to the hospital, but it's not clear why. Meanwhile, the cruise ship passenger who stepped up as the ship's doctor after the original one got ill, speaking to CNN from the specialized unit in Nebraska.
This is a very secure facility, so if I am to get sick and spill virus, there's no way that virus is getting out of this building.
He's one of 16 Americans being evaluated in Omaha after leaving that cruise ship. Jake Rose-Marin among them too, documenting the quarantine process.
Here's my thermometer. Turn it on. I have to put on my mask so I can show the nurses that my temperature is all good. Hi. No symptoms, 98.6.
And the CDC says they have more than 100 personnel now responding to the outbreak, adding they're also aware and closely monitoring those 3 people under observation in the hospital in Kansas. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, Washington.
The US has closed its borders to non-US passport holders from African nations as fears grow of the escalating Ebola outbreak. Live to Marley Hogan in Washington, D.C. Marley, the death toll is continuing to climb. This is concerning.
Yeah, Eddie, the latest figures are 500 suspected cases and 130 suspected deaths. Now, at this stage, the World Health Organization has declared it a public health emergency, and they're really ramping up their efforts to try and contact trace and contain the spread of this virus. American authorities have announced that for the next 30 days, they will restrict access for entering the United States if they do not hold a US passport if they have been in the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan or Uganda in the last 3 weeks. Now, one American doctor who was working in the Democratic Republic of Congo has tested positive. He is on his way to Germany for treatment along with 6 close contacts. Now, America officially withdrew from the World Health Organization, but still authorities are working together on this one, sharing information to try and stop the spread.
WHO is supporting the scale-up of surveillance, contact tracing, testing, clinical care, and cross-border preparedness. The agency has deployed experts to the field alongside with national responders and sent 12 tons of supplies, including personal protective equipment for frontline health workers.
Now, US authorities are reminding people that the risk of this spreading here or in the United States is extremely low. They are concerned about it spreading within the region of those areas where it has been detected. At this stage, they're trying to do what they can to help out. Eddie?
Thank you, Marley.